Welcome to On Point. The Grosse Pointe Public School System is working to answer your frequently asked questions in a number of different ways. We started a series of videos answering one question at a time so they're easily digestible. And the person in the hot seat is our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Gary Niehaus. Dr. Niehaus, my question for you today is, tell me about the Blue Ribbon Committee and what would you say to parents who feel their voice was not represented?
Well, I think the point that I would make about the Blue Ribbon Committees is it was a concept that when I got here 4 years ago, we didn't have a strategic plan. Mm-hmm. And so we sat down with the strategic plan and we worked through the strategic plan in about 6 or 7 sessions. We brought community members in, we brought teachers, we brought administrators, we brought board members. We had about the same number that we had on the Blue Ribbon Committee mm-hmm. for recently. What we found with that was we found a quick way to find consensus. We had good table talks and we had good dialogue that happened through that process. There was a lot of ideas brought out, and it gave us administration the opportunity to go back and do our due diligence, sometimes research, but also is it something that would work in our district. So once we adopted in that first semester, we adopted a strategic plan, and from the strategic plan, then we got that quickly adopted by our board, and then they gave us a roadmap of where we're going in our future. In January, we would have we put together the 7 options that we looked for a plan, because they were asking us to bring a plan to the Board of Education. And then we took those 7 plans and began to work with the Blue Ribbon Committee, basically as a filter or as an opportunity for them to listen to it. Does it make sense? Is it something we'd like to do? Do you see it for this community? They had, again, table talks. They had opportunities for people to observe them while we were doing the Blue Ribbon Committees. It gave us an opportunity to get feedback from them. And then one of the things we did in both of the last 2 Blue Ribbon Committees is we did some phone surveys, basically where it was anonymous, and so people could vote accordingly. And I think it kind of helped us with, do you believe we have declining enrollment? 95% of the people in the room said, yes, you do. 78% of the people said, we need to close an elementary school, and 45% just not my middle school. And the same thing happened with middle school. 78% said we need to close a middle school, and then 45% said just not my middle school. Yeah. And I think we kind of got the drift of the idea at the time that all of these things are going to be taken into consideration as we move forward. The Blue Ribbon Committee then made a recommendation to the Board of Education. And with that recommendation, then it gave us the opportunity again to go out and do our town hall meetings.
So what I'm hearing is, with the triggers that the Board of Education set in June of 2018, with those being met in November, the board then directed you to reconvene this Blue Ribbon to act as a filter or focus group. And then tell me a little bit more about the town halls that further refined that vision.
Well, again, we wanted to make sure that the plan that the board adopted was put out on the street for people to be able to see and have input to. Yep. And we went out on our town hall meetings, and not only did I do town hall meetings, but I equally did 4 PTO meetings. Mm-hmm. And the PTO meetings were done at the 4 schools that were put up for closure. And so it was a more of a different format for the PTO meetings because they were smaller, and for the most part we allowed a little bit more of the question answer. Sure. At the town hall meetings, we knew we were going to be overwhelmed with questions, and we felt the only way that we could justify coming and spending an hour and a half with them was to do the cards and to have the cards read and then try to get an answer to those cards.
Well, and that's a system that's worked well for the League of Women Voters, and it was really helpful, I think, that we had the PTO members help filter those questions so that if there were duplicate questions, we didn't ask them numerous times because we wanted to answer as many as possible, as fast as we could in that time frame. Talk to me a little bit more about how you've continued to answer questions since the town hall meetings.
Well, one of the things I take pride in, and I, as an administrator, but also as a superintendent, I've always had an open door policy. People can come talk to me.
And they do.
And they do. And it's a positive thing. I would say 95% of the conversations in my office are people coming in to say, Dr. Niehaus, what can I do to help you? I've got an idea, I've got a thought. Let me share with you how I've calculated this. Let me share with you a possibility. And it's from, early middle college. I've been introduced to 4 different universities now that were not at my doorstep before. It's people that are wanting more early childhood opportunities for us. I've now been joined in to several groups of people that want to make sure that we continue that. We've had our Young Fives conversations about what beneficial. Now we're up to 100 students next year in our Young Five programs in 5 different schools. So I think that the thing that we look at is people came with ideas. Monday night, you and I are going to meet with a group from East Grand Rapids to talk about how we can do a better job of raising money for our school district through a foundation or an endowment. Nothing that I can tell you wasn't positive about those conversations, because a lot of times they even changed my perspective or my thought about it. And many times I was able to explain, why I thought a 5-8, middle school was a better concept. So I just think it's one of those things that there's too much on social media and not enough in one-on-one or 1-on-5 or 1-on-7 conversations that need to be had with individual people.
Absolutely. Well, if you'd like to continue to participate in this conversation, we welcome your comments at our televised board meetings. We also encourage you to email our school board at schoolboard@gpschools.org. Thank you.